I'm here with the Organizers Better Tomorrow staff. We're starting a little earlier, not quite on time, but we're better than we were. Apparently, I was talking to myself in pre-call for 15 minutes, and I just was wondering what I said wrong, and it turned out nothing. So thanks, guys. Way to go, team. Just a bad connection. Hopefully, it stays stable through the rest of this. So if you like what we're doing, give us a share, give us a like. No, even if you don't like it, just give it a like, anyways. Just no one can see it on Twitter, so no one even knows. But thanks for being here. We got a lot to talk about. I wouldn't say any of it's good news. I would say we got the Iran war. We got a clear image of the Trump assassination attempt. We got Pete Hegseth talking to Congress. This mRNA study got released. New Surgeon General Vinay Prasad is out because it's Groundhog's Day here on Brace for Impact, where it feels like the same thing's happening over and over again, because Vinay Prasad is saying goodbye one more time to CBER. There was an arrest with COVID origins. That's a super controversial topic right now, talk about in the community. We also got the Voting Rights Act, FISA, maybe a hemp ban, this Novavax. This is a lot going on. Israel's still kidnapping activists in international water with the Gaza aid flotilla, which you probably didn't see on social media because they're being, their social media is not really making it as far right now, but they're currently kidnapping people in international waters off Greece because they're aimed to go to Gaza, and that's enough. Which, I mean, how much you got to say here about a lawless sort of like driving us to war? You got this Iran stuff, but let's start with Iran. Jesse, it's your new favorite illegitimate subject after ACIP got wiped out. So how do you feel about doing war 60 days at a time?
That's not what war powers were supposed to be about.
Oh, supposed to be.
Congress.
So
gives us the power to go to war.
Right.
It's supposed to be the Congress gives us the power to go to war, not the president gets to start a war.
By himself.
Yeah, by himself. Without an imminent threat, and then tell Congress 48 hours later, and then 60 days later claim that operation's over and he's withdrawing, and then he's probably going to start it up again.
So here's my question to you, Jesse. Does the law explicitly say the spirit of the law anywhere in it?
We'd have to read the war powers. Was it 1973? War powers.
So, yeah.
Act, I don't think it says. Does it say spirit of the law, or does it?
So scholars argue that it would violate the spirit of the law if Trump were just to immediately. So basically, what it is, and we 60 days wartime powers by the president unilaterally with no congressional improvement, and then he has 30 days. Not necessarily to technically remove forces, but he has 30 more days of active war that he can commit to, where they're not at war, but they're like removing forces. That's what they're supposed to be doing. But it doesn't explicitly say that they have to. It just gives them time to do it. And then they can just start the war again and do another 60 days and then 30 days off. And it's like, so we'll be doing the war in 90-day segments of like 60 days on. And it's like Trump can't even commit to a full wartime schedule. It's like 2 months of war. I need to take a month just like to relax. Is that cool, guys? Or it's like, no, you're gonna go to, you gotta stay at war, don't go to war. It's kind of like, don't go to war, by the way. Don't stay at war shouldn't be the thing. It's just,
yeah.
He's just, being a guy with fat ankles at this point.
And there was a report from Axios last night saying, which Axios is pretty much Barak Ravid. He's an Israeli journalist that works for Axios that usually is kind of like the stenographer for either the Trump administration or the Israelis. And
no, come on.
and that's sort of my take on him. But they basically were saying that he was having a meeting today about more strikes, and what would be involved in that and his different options. The Israelis were telling him that it may help bring Iran to the negotiating table if he did another strike.
Is Iran not at the negotiating table? I mean, this is like, anyways, I don't know.
Yeah.
So if you guys don't know, listeners, everyone out here, the war is officially over, according to Trump. But at the same time, in the same day he's saying the war is over, he's saying it might be time to think about restarting the war. Couldn't even make it one single day without, telegraphing his plans. No wonder they cut him out of that war meeting.
Yeah, he's completely erratic, and how do you negotiate with somebody like that? You know, if you're on the other side, I don't see how you can negotiate with somebody who's constantly threatening you and and just going back and forth like this.
Hey, Terry, got a question for you. Do you think the quote
Yeah?
"bring them to the table" is might be a little misleading about what their aim is in trying to attack them again? Because it strikes me as like maybe that's not what they actually mean.
I don't think that's what he means at all. I think he just wants to blow shit up. He's crazy.
Yeah, we're already blowing their stuff up. Why stop, right?
Why stop? It's fun. I like to watch explosions. Yeah, they're cool.
Ran
Well,
out of.
I don't think this went the way that the Israelis would have hoped, because
Oh
this
no. Well, no, you know, you may be wrong about that because what they want is Iran destabilized. They don't really want Israelis don't want regime change. They want an unstable Iran to just be.
But the thing of this is
But I
that
don't think it's happening.
no, it's not happening, and I think that Iran is actually in a lot of ways in a much stronger position. Like they didn't have
Absolutely.
control over the Strait of Hormuz before this.
Not like they do now.
Yeah, I mean they're actually
And it's actually much more unity among the population because somebody else went and attacked them.
Yeah, I mean we did
tends to do
So-
that.
we did kill a lot of the Ayatollah, and we caused all kinds of damage and killed like up to I think 3,000, 4,000 people there. But they are in a politically more powerful position. Like the world economy is in their hands at this point.
Pretty much.
Well, then that all comes down
Yeah.
to oil and what's going on there. And then you look at Pete Hegseth in Congress today trying to say that he is not in communication with his investor. Which, I don't, is that a normal thing? Like, is that, like, I mean, maybe in his position, aren't they just not supposed to have those investments while they're in that position?
Well, are they in a blind trust or what?
I don't know. Jesse watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot. Are they?
You want to hear his little clip? It's only like a minute.
We got a clip? I'd love to.
Okay.
Law clearly prohibits the Secretary of Defense from owning stock in the 10 biggest defense contractors. Other senators and I sent you a letter with detailed questions about this, and you have not given us a response. So I'd like to hear you say, did you, through your broker at Morgan Stanley or otherwise, seek to invest in any defense-related funds right before Trump started the Iran war?
I'll give it to you as a big, fat negative.
Then let me ask you a second question. Is your broker getting your personal sign-off on any investment in individual stocks?
Bigger, fatter, negative.
He's not getting your sign-off before he makes investments in defense stocks? Can I refer you to your
I'm not
ethics
making
agreement?
investments, Senator.
I am asking, does he know that he has to get your sign-off before he does that?
Of course.
The
I
time
don't know what
of
you're
the
looking for, but you ain't
senator
going to
has
find it.
expired. Thank you. Thank you, Senator.
I would like to enter into the record the ethics agreement that the Secretary of Defense has signed, that he will sign off personally before his broker makes any attempt to buy defense stocks.
Is there objection?
Thank you.
Without objection, it will be admitted.
Okay.
So what do you think?
I mean,
Okay, so that did kind of answer my question. It's not a blind trust. One
No.
thing that a lot of politicians will do is put their investments in a blind trust, which means somebody else is managing it. I don't know about it. I don't hear about it. I don't know what I have or don't have. But from what Elizabeth Warren, who knows her stuff, is saying, it doesn't sound like that's what's the case here.
yeah, these are rich people problems to me. I'm like, wait, what? They do what? How they invest money? What is that?
You let somebody deal with your money without knowing
What? They
stuff?
have money? You guys have... That's wild. My
Yeah.
goodness. I'm so happy for you.
So it sounds like it sounds like she's going to subpoena that information.
Love to see it.
Might as well. I mean,
He also said before that he didn't know anything about the other possible leaks of of other people like making oil investments right before the attacks. That was her line of questioning.
Well,
Baloney.
he's only banned from making defense, according to what that was saying. They're only banned from the 10 major defense contractors. So it's not a question of whether or not he made oil investments. It's a question of whether or not he made defense investments.
Yeah,
'Cause-
no, this was a separate thing. This was like it because the leak. I mean, not the leak, but whoever. Yeah, there must have been a leak from the Defense Department to somebody to be making these investments in oil before. This is a separate issue than what she was just
Well,
questioning.
this just
Yeah,
reminds me a
It's
lot
a
of.
separate issue.
It reminds me a lot of super PACs. How super PACs aren't supposed to coordinate, but then what does coordination mean? And then like it's poorly defined, and then it lets people like get in like.
I heard
pull-
Barron Trump was making a lot of money on the oil swings.
I don't.
Uh.
I mean, we say that, but I haven't seen any technical. I personally, I'm not saying it's not true. I have not personally, in all the things we've looked up, I haven't seen like someone be like, "Here's how much money he's made and how we would prove that." Like, you know, it seems like that's private information, right? Am I crazy, or is that all publicly? Like, if you're going through, like, I don't know. Again, these are rich people problems. I don't know everything, guys. I don't know. I don't know how this works.
Martha
I'm like,
Stewart went to jail for insider trading.
well,
but
she
I
went
guess
no,
nobody
she went
else
to
will.
no, she went to jail for not revealing who her source was, and that's why she went to jail, because Martha Stewart rolls hard, like for real, and they just cast her biopic. Random conversation. Who would they cast for her biopic? Lee? Kate Blanchett. She knew instantly. Even though
Is
she
going to
didn't
play
get a
Martha
show.
Stewart.
Yeah, Kate Blanchett's
Oh,
gonna
wow.
play yeah, exactly. That I'm actually, it's the first biopic in a while. I'm like, I'd watch that, because there's gonna be a part she goes to jail, and then she's gonna hang out with Snoop Dogg, and I'm just like, wait, it's always funny when this. I can't believe we're on a Martha Stewart tirade, but this is such a depressing show. But when you look at a picture of Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg, only one of those two people has gone to jail.
I want to see Kate Blanchett say faux shizzle.
I don't, yeah. I'm pretty sure we can find that video right now, because she is fun. She is fun. Speaking of not fun, though, we got a clear video. Got to Trump back to the actual show. The Trump assassination attempt. We got a clear video of this, and I think I've got my like thoughts on this straight finally, because the family has come out and said they notified the FBI and the White House 48 hours in advance that he was coming. They knew he was having an episode. And so when we see these school shootings, the Republicans are always like, guns aren't the problem, mental health is the problem, right? And I think it's so ironic that in this instance, I feel like this is such a prime example of this guy's having a serious mental health episode. And it seems like they knew he was coming, and the reason security was so when you have security, you know a bit about this. If you've ever seen the Zorro movie, you learn everything about the one with Anthony Hopkins and Antonio Banderas. When he teaches about sword movement, I've talked about this on the show before. You have 3 rings. You have your outer ring, your middle ring, and your inner ring. And the thing that was weird about the event, that when people reflect on it, the outest ring was for some reason not as present as usual. And so I think that there is conspiracy to this, or word to this conspiracy, that they knew this guy was coming, and they lowered the outermost ring to make it easier for him to get into the interior and have like a quote attempt. And I think that whether or not this is accurate, this is my stance after looking at everything. So we got this clear data. We've looked through all the security stuff. We've seen tons and tons of things. They knew the guy was coming. They used it. They put everyone at risk again. But again, this is what I said in pre-call. They're killing people already. Like, they're blowing up boats of fishermen and killing people in Iran and laughing about it. And the school children don't give a shit if they're putting a couple of agents and a potential shooter at risk. That's nothing to these people at this point. And so you're into like I do think that and you can see all the creepy guys that are in the inner cabinet, because you got Patel, the FBI, the White House, they know. So it would go into the cabinet meeting, and then you have all the cabinet people, and all those cabinet people said weird, dorky things about shots being fired the night before, or the night of, or something just ridiculous. So it just seems like
Caroline Levitt.
Yeah, it's Caroline Levitt. So it just seems like they're taking advantage of a mental health episode to create a would-be assassin that was like he had a 12 gauge pump action shotgun, which he had no business having there. But we're not. This is like they're very scary. If
Not
you're
an
like,
AR.
It's not an AR.
It's not an
Exactly.
AR.
Right. Exactly.
That dog, Oreo, that sticks his head out.
What's that, Heather?
You know what I'm talking about, right?
No.
It's about small. She was just looking. Like, she always just looks at us because she wants it so bad to come over. She was looking at us and then she kept looking at the ground and then looking at me and then looking at the ground. She never does that.
Oh, I don't know if Heather
And I
knows
was like,
she's
she
hot.
wants me to get the toys for her because she's dropped a bunch
We,
of toys on
hang
the
on,
sidewalk.
somebody. Hang on.
4 things down there.
Hang on. There we go. Heather was not talking to us. We'll fix that a little bit. That's okay. I was like, is she saying something insightful? Maybe. We love Heather, but that's okay. It happens from time to time on Discord. So I do
Oh,
think.
I thought
What's
thought
that?
there was a theory there. I thought there was a theory there that we weren't following.
I know for a
You want
second.
me to Oreos?
No, I knew what she was talking about for a second, but
Okay.
I do think there's something to they took advantage of a situation that as it was happening. I think that is more than likely what it looks like, and like the inner cabinet would have known, and that's why security was screwed up, and that's how the guy was able to get into that middle circle, and in that middle circle, because you gotta keep in mind the middle circle is just the interior room was right there. So that guy never should have made it into the middle circle. He should have been caught in the exterior circle. But that had been weakened because they wanted the person to get in and to have their thing. So it does feel like there's some evidence for that here. I feel like that's something.
There
more-
was some like negligence on the part of actually letting him in.
Yeah, like it feels intentional. Like it feels like
Yeah.
they did it so because they also had their talking points for their ballroom all ready to go. Trump has also never been to one of these before. There's just a lot of like, well, that's
Yeah,
particular,
they quickly jumped to like, how can we use this?
right? Instantly.
Yeah, the ballroom thing was what really made me wonder.
Yeah.
He was right on that.
But it seems like he's a real person who really believes what he believes. He's just like, I'm not saying he's innocent in any way. He's clearly guilty of doing what he tried to do, but he's like, this is more mental health episode than like seasoned killer ready to like take out the president.
Yeah. And we never got to see Trump's material. Like the president usually gets to do a whole song and dance. Of
Well,
these
he's
things.
in 30 days. They're doing the thing again. They
Oh,
just
wow.
got suspended for 30 days. Apparently, all the food did get given to shelters or something. It's like a ton of lobster people were like getting thrown away. But apparently, a lot of the food was donated. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I read. At this point, everything you read is like, unless you read from like multiple sources and like pictures of the food being handed off, you just have no idea anymore. I hate that this is where we are.
I know.
Because every time like a new article comes out, you're like, okay, let me explain what this means. And the good one actually is we finally got this mRNA study that everyone's been talking about. The MMRW was supposed to release, and they released it through a couple other publications. It's pretty much what we expected. It's 50%. It's actually better than usual, which weird. It is better than usual. The mRNA usually comes in about 35% protective from hospitalization, but this year, because the LP81s and the LP81s and KP2 are all so close to each other in JN1, we have a great study showing how it updated people's memory responses. So it gave us a much higher level of protection than usual. So this really goes to show just a lot of things about COVID and how antibodies work, and how when people are like really saying, oh, KP2 and LP81 are so different and and they're actually they're close enough your immune system recognizes them as the same thing. Right? So like, so 50% is good. It's not going to be consistent like that from year to year. It's going to be back in the 35 as soon as there's like more variants. We'll see what happens with that. But it's not good. It's only 50% protection from hospitalization. That's
Not great.
That's not great. Yeah. If you care about long COVID and you're like, oh, long COVID is ravaging people, and you're only getting 50% protection from hospitalization, like the second you're hospitalized, your long COVID risk goes up exponentially from each stage of hospitalization. So if the protection is only 50%, your long COVID protection of hitting into those bars is only 50% at best. It's probably a little better, like, in all fairness. And I do support getting the vaccine. We prefer Novavax, which is what pisses me off about all this, is that here we are in this, we're intentionally using the lower performing vaccine and prioritizing its use while forcing the higher prioritizing vaccine into a booster situation. And this is from Biden. This is not the current. I mean, the current administration has been doing it too, but they're whatever. Which we got new CBER people, but we'll get to that in a second. But, you know, it's frustrating to me because all these people are talking about how good this is when we literally have a higher performing vaccine. People just have to start a new vaccine process. And so if you only have the small group of people who are still getting vaccinated, we should get those people with the best vaccine that you can get, give them the highest level of protection, and then have people see them be more protected. And that's what will bring up vaccination rates. So, like, the intentional of, like, pushing on this idea that isn't as good is only harming the whole outcome, because it's all feeding the anti-vax. Because apparently there was some concern at some point about feeding anti-vax rhetoric, and like nothing feeds anti-vax rhetoric more than over-promising and under-delivering.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like that should
you gotta be honest.
Yeah, that's largely what got us in the mess that we're.
Yeah, over-promising and under-delivering. That's it. And then here we are trying to under-promise what Novavax can do, and it way over-delivers with people, and we're just like barely keeping the product alive and available with just enough demand, and we have this. It's clearly a better vaccine, and it's frustrating because even the companies like Novavax bought the Matrix M, and so they didn't really develop it, so they know it's a good adjuvant, but they don't really know what it's really doing outside of that. And then you got Sanofi, they just sell vaccines, so they don't really care. So they're really just pushing, well, it has reduced AE. We got another study showing it has about half the adverse events of mRNA. So it's but that's all they're focusing on right now. They're not focusing on actually protecting people better, because all these companies are also selling post-infection prophylactics, like they have pills and shots and all sorts of things that are similar to MAbs for people who after they get infected. So it's like their business line doesn't stop at stopping infections. They want, so like you have these companies that are in charge of these products, and they're never going to tell the public how to use it to the best way that they can. So it's just one of these, like, I don't know. I wish that all these people talking about mRNA was really more about protecting people than it is, because if it was concerned about protecting people, they'd be talking about getting the best protection available, not getting the minimum protection available and then absolutely dying on that sword. Like, I don't understand. Or hill. Sorry. Throwing themselves on the horde at the top of the hill. Right?
You were saying this comes out of the Biden era, like
Yeah.
They also were the ones who tried to like force this into like a flu type scenario where
Yeah.
it's, a seasonal thing, just lump it in with, the fall flu.
They were just as bad as the right. Like, the right
Once a
wanted
year,
to,
kind of,
like, people on the right talk about how they, like, deny COVID and da-da-da-da-da, and they're, like, really awful, and that's true. But the people who were, like, we were trusting to, like, shepherd us the right direction totally, like, lied to everyone and threw everyone under the bus and made it all about capitalism. Because that's the difference, like, when we talk about neoliberal Democrats or austerity Democrats versus, like, more, like, democratic socialists, the difference is literally capitalism. The difference is, are we putting people over profits or profits over people? So when we say these people are neoliberal establishment Democrats, we're saying that because they are putting profits over people. So when we then tell you how they put profits over people, no one should be surprised. Oh, is your hero? Turns out he was putting profits over people. We told you the whole time.
Like, what are we serving with our policy?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
It's philosophy. It's all philosophy. It's like, what kind of philosophy are we approaching? Like, what do we prioritize? Do we prioritize people making money, or do we prioritize quality of life? And that's like with, like, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you're a capitalist, you just look at this going, well, it prevents hospitalization to some degree. That's better than nothing. That's okay. And if you're like, I'm trying to protect people's quality of life, then you're like, well, it needs to be like a much higher level of protection and reduce long COVID risk. But these guys aren't even like, and then when they talk about long COVID, they're more interested in like changing the definition of long COVID to include the thing that they want, really, rather than like make something that actually does it. You know what I mean? Like, it should do the thing you're saying it does. If it doesn't, that's a problem. And that's exactly what happened and where we are. Same thing with, like, it happened with Paxlovid, too. Paxlovid, we got another study showing it doesn't really work that well on people who are vaccinated. Which is just a fancy way of saying, it may work once, it just doesn't work now. but it never worked because it doesn't have a mechanism to do what it claims to do. And we don't have any studies on Dolutegravir, whatever it's called, the other half of Paxlovid, between it and ritonavir. We don't have anything on it. There's no data. And apparently we're learning more and more about the problems they had with it in general.
Isn't ritonavir the thing they stopped using in AIDS medicine?
Yeah,
Because it
yeah.
had so many negative effects?
Yeah, it crosses over with so many things you can't use. It basically, what ritonavir does is it delays processing in your liver so that other protease inhibitors work longer. So it's like a multiplier. So the nirmatrelvir, which I'm not saying right, I always call it Nirma, but I know I'm not saying the name of it right.
Ritonavir.
No, the other drug, the other half of it. The
other one.
The Nirma, which is the new drug that makes Paxlovid. We have no data on that drug. Like none. Like we have a ton of data on ritonavir, and none of it's very good.
Oh.
Yeah, but the
Right.
but the other half of Paxlovid is like brand spanking new, and we don't know anything about it. And when they rolled it out, like that was the initial testing of that, like in general. Like you can't look up, or I mean maybe you can and I missed it, but when I was looking for it originally, I didn't find anything on it.
Because the one half of it was used in the HIV
Yeah,
medication, and the other half is brand new.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, and if it needs ritonavir to be effective in the first place, it's probably not that effective because of what ritonavir is needed to do. Ritonavir makes other drugs, other protease inhibitors work in your body longer to be more effective. So it can't...
And it damages your endothelium and your kidneys and your liver.
Right, because it's bad for your body, and then everything is because it's delaying processing. That's why when people are like, I want to take ritonavir for like 20 or 30 days to try to do long COVID or Paxlovid.
No, you're going to be in big trouble. if you do
You're going
that.
to get worse, not better. This is very unlikely. Like, if you get better, it seems like the people who do get better using Paxlovid are people who are immune dysfunctional, and the Paxlovid just gives their immune system a little bit of a push that it normally would need. But normal people don't need it. You'll beat an infection the same amount of time. It doesn't help.
And then
So-
maybe it'll come back a few weeks later.
Right, and if you are immunocompromised, we should be using monoclonal antibodies or remdesivir or one of those on it, which they don't want to use because they cost more, even though they're more effective. Insurance companies don't want to pay for them, and that was the whole problem
That's
we're
right.
having with talking about long COVID and getting people infusion antivirals is because insurance companies don't want to cover it. That's why Pemgarda now apparently, which I don't know, I've heard a mixed bag with Pemgarda and long COVID. Some people have said it made them worse, and some people said it made it better. I didn't follow up with every person who said it made it worse, so maybe they got better. But Pemgarda, I have seen people been able to get it approved by insurance on the basis of them having long COVID. Like, I have seen people talk about those reports on Reddit. So I spend, like, I don't even know, guys. People don't understand how much time I spend on Reddit reading people's stories of their long COVID. Even in subreddits I'm not allowed to talk in anymore. Like, I read their stories and try to understand better what they're going through. And if you go, there's one subreddit where I talk a lot in, and I feel like it's the one that has the most grounded, like, this is the problem, and it's more complicated and nuanced than people want to say. No one likes a nuanced, complicated problem. You know what I mean? That's just...
Nope. We've talked about that many times.
Yeah. No one likes a nuanced solution, right? So why would they want
Yeah.
a nuanced problem? Speaking of nuanced problems, we have a new Surgeon General nomination.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyways, moving on. No, she, right? Surgeon General's another Trump.
It's a
post.
she, yeah.
Yeah, she posted. More. I mean, we'll see what happens. I feel like we're gonna
She's
get
actually practiced medicine.
She's a
I think,
doctor,
which
though.
Casey Neistat didn't.
right.
Yeah, she's also it was a Fox correspondent, which is probably why
Trump was.
Trump found her in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
And we know it worked so well with Pete Hegseth, so it should work.
Well, I'll
Again.
be honest, it is
He
working.
Likes, he likes people he's seen on TV. He likes that.
Well,
Yeah.
people will also say yes to him unconditionally. So I think, like, the thing with Pete Hegseth is that, like, he will just, like, okay, yeah, whatever. He doesn't have any sort of scruples or, like, what are they called? Morals? ethics.
Ethics.
Yeah.
All that good stuff.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Surgeon General. I don't know. I feel like it's going to be another fiery car crash. We're definitely seeing Trump slowly lose power with Congress, and it seems like every couple of weeks there's a new video with Elizabeth Warren grilling somebody really hard. Because it was RFK last time, right? It was RFK. It was the same. She was grilling him when he said Trump's special math. Well, the president has a different way of doing math. There's a second way too. And we're like, no, there isn't. That's never going away.
It's funny about this Surgeon General thing, is that Trump immediately went off the handle on Bill Cassidy.
Oh,
He's
I
yeah.
saw that.
He's holding him responsible for the failure of Casey Means' nomination.
Well,
good
it is.
job,
I
Bill
mean,
Cassidy.
isn't he the final vote on these things?
It was probably not just him, but
He couldn't
You know.
wrangle the votes for it.
yeah.
You know?
But it's Bill Cassidy was his boy. He pushed through RFK.
Right. Well, I mean, maybe that's
And
exactly
you
why
know
he's
that.
looking at it twice and being like, no, I don't think we can do this. Get a doctor. At least a doctor. You might as well just nominate me for Surgeon General, which that would be a funny hearing.
Now Trump's saying we need to support the primary of Bill Cassidy.
Which, by the way, I don't know, it's kind of scary. He's in Louisiana, right? They're
Yeah.
redistricting. I mean, he's Senate, so it's not going to matter. But they're stopping elections in Louisiana and in Alabama, I think, because of the Voting Rights Act change from SCOTUS. So they're actually stopping primaries. And one state is in active primaries right now, and they're trying to halt the entire active primary. I don't know what's going to happen there, but I feel like they feel very emboldened to just do whatever they want, which is pretty scary.
That's
and-
also Louisiana?
Yeah, Alabama. I think
Alabama.
Alabama is where they start. It's one of those
Yeah.
redneck. I shouldn't
Southern
actually
states.
talk bad about rednecks because that's another one of those. Good guys got a bad name. I heard one of those, a new one recently, of those exact things. It's one. Man, it'll come to me in a couple minutes. Where there's another one of those where we use it as a pejorative, but it's actually the good guys got turned into a pejorative, which is pretty consistent.
Right.
Okay, so Sieber, Vinay Prasad is out again. Does anyone?
Hi.
Yeah. Is saying bye twice sweeter than just once? I'm just asking for a friend.
We can wave every couple weeks. Bye.
Yeah. So the new deputy Sieber director is taking over. We looked her up. She's new to the agency, but she's I don't know. Seems credited. Seems like there's also some questionable stuff in her backlog, but we'll see. We'll see. Because at VRPAC, we're going to have a new Sieber director that might be her. And that's going to decide how things happen with the vaccines. And so...
For the variant selection.
Well, every time, not just that, access in general. Every time, we might be going through ACIP VRPAC access again. Because also, here's the thing.
Oh, God.
After VRPAC meets, ACIP has to meet, and there's no ACIP still. They were talking about getting new ACIP. So, getting these, signed, they can, they might be able to do the thing we talked about last year, how, the way the language is on the vaccine, it doesn't need approval year to year. It's just generally approved, depending on variant. So, I don't know. That's going to be a thing we're going to have to deal with. I'm totally confident that the vaccines aren't going to be interrupted. It's not helping us with our plan to try to have them earlier so that they can be in time for school, because I don't think we're going to make that marker at all this year, only because everything is so dysfunctional. Changing anything, getting the system to work normally is as good as we're going to get. So all we can do is keep pushing on hopefully next year and start pushing earlier, and then and then also we're going to see what COVID does right now, because even though it's still hundreds of thousands of cases every day, it's the lowest it's been ever. So, but don't worry, there's plenty of RSV and influenza A to take its place. So, controversial subject of the day. is this arrest over COVID origins. This COVID doctor, not COVID doctor, this doctor who worked for, let's make sure I got this right. He's a doctor who worked for Fauci, who was cutting deals with EcoHealth Alliance and Peter Daszak to create favorable reports for EcoHealth Alliance. And he was accepting gifts. And he got caught.
Oh my God.
He got caught because he deleted things, or he was avoiding FOIA requests by communicating over government lines through personal emails. And so some people have been really outraged that he was like arrested with like guns and body armor. And the thing is, this is what I said in pre-call, and I'm going to say it again. I'm just going to repeat myself, which I probably don't need to say to the audience, but it does eat a little time explaining it. Basically, if you were a flight risk, you got a thing and you ran, we would assume you're going to be a flight risk again, right? And if you're a guy who tried to hide documentation of what would be illegal activity, because I hate to break it to everybody, but using your position of power and accepting gifts to create favorable reports is like not on the up and up any way you want to look at it, whether it's like that's
Granted,
corruption.
everybody in the administration does it, but yeah, it's not.
Yeah, it's not on the up and up. Now, it's not to say that like isolating him, there aren't like dozens of people who should be held accountable for in the same way that he is for different things. Totally agree. But apparently he just didn't do the crime right, because they did catch him hiding information, and so it makes sense that you would have a full-blown search warrant, immediate arrest to get his devices, because if he's known to delete things or hide communications, then if you give him any time to hide communications, say, hey, why don't you come on down and have a talk with us, that gives him a heads up that you're investigating him, and he can delete all that stuff. Now, again, is this even-handed politics? Probably, absolutely not. But does it really seem like there is some real fire here? It does. And I know it sounds like people are like, oh, COVID, this isn't about necessarily COVID origins or anything other than someone in the government having a position of corruption. Like they were using their position for corruption in a way that was easily caught. So I feel like, I don't know. You know, I feel like when the left takes over inevitably, hopefully, depending on how this Voting Rights Act thing really affects everything, like what's Congress, because we have no idea like what the final Congress is going to lay out is going to be until people start actually getting elected. It's just because like everything's going through the courts and everyone's changing their districts, and you don't really know how people are really going to show up. Different people are going to vote different ways. You just have no idea. And it really seems like that when we go back to that, holding all the right accountable for all the things they're doing right now is what we're supposed to do. We haven't done that in the past. Because you know how George Bush and all his people were held accountable, right, Jesse?
Oh yeah, no.
Remember that?
We looked forward and not back.
Yeah, exactly. So we need to do that, though, this time. We need to look a little back, right? And, like, clean up behind us.
Well, let's go all the way back to Nixon. We need to move on. We need to heal.
Yeah.
Y'all probably weren't alive then, but I remember it.
When does that healing start?
Not sure. Hasn't happened yet.
I think the healing starts after the accountability. That's the problem. You have to learn from what went wrong, what people did wrong.
Right. Well, that actually is a really good, interesting sort of thing. So that brings us to the next point, which is this thing with Ron Johnson, which is another where there might actually be a little bit of fire, even though it's a Republican bringing it up. But I feel like in regards to, it was just weird for me I don't usually agree with Ron Johnson as a general policy. And I still don't know that I do completely, but I do think that based on our vaccine advocacy, the little thing that he's come up with is, I don't know, sounds like indicative of the people involved's character. But the COVID origins thing, and whether or not you believe it or not, I just know that Peter Daszak is not the guy who you should be getting your evidence from. Because I know I was getting into somebody where the World Socialist Newsletter platforms Peter Daszak all the time, and like, that's outrageous. That is outrageous. He is blacklisted by the U.S. government because of a lab accident that caused a pandemic. Like he whether or not see it doesn't matter if they've exactly connected to him. They know for a fact that he outsourced the work on coronaviruses that the government was paying for, that was required to have BSL-3 airborne protections, they know for a fact that he outsourced that work to the Chinese government that was only required to use BSL-2 non-airborne protections. Now, if you guys know anything about how COVID spreads, if you're putting it in a non-airborne protection room, you're gonna spread COVID. Even if they're just fecal samples, it doesn't matter. If anything aerosols, it's getting in the air and people are going to get infected. I think that's the thing, like, when we also talk about this. And I had this, like, I was talking to somebody and they're just shouting at me that I was believing a right-wing conspiracy or something, just unhinged. It came to my attention that, and I used this thing a couple times, where you're like, if you ever seen the movie Forrest Gump, right? In the beginning and the end of the movie, there's this feather that sort of floats around, and it's a metaphor for Forrest and how Forrest goes to all these different things, just kind of ends up in the right places, going on the wind. I don't know if you knew that. The feather is a metaphor for Forrest. Anyways, and how it passes from father to son. It's that whole... Anyways. So, the thing is that when we talk about, like, a lab leak, I think people hear leak and they think, like, oh, they had airborne protections and the virus snuck out like a little mouse or a feather getting in the air vent. And you're like, no, they were workers working with an unknown virus who did not have airborne protections that required airborne protections. Of course someone got infected. That's what will happen with COVID. So, like, people have this conceptualization that it's like this mysterious, like it floated in the air through. No, it infected somebody, because COVID is it's like as infectious as measles almost. And, like, it infected somebody, and they left not knowing they were infected because it has a super long incubation rate. That is... I don't understand how anyone could hear that story and be like, I don't think that could happen. They were in a lab that did not have airborne protections.
It's almost like the words lab leak just sound fantastical and like a conspiracy theory, so people just sort of turn off.
Yeah, and I'm trying to explain to them at the same time, like, when you think about, like, I think common sense dictates that, like, when you talk about lab leak stuff, you go, well, first off, we don't call them lab leaks. First off, we call them biosecurity incidents. Okay, they're not called lab leaks; they're biosecurity incidents. And there is a great Wikipedia article on biosecurity incidents. And if you look at that, there have been dozens and dozens and dozens in just the last 100. We only started doing so. Like, the first lab incident is in 1903. So in 123 years, we have had dozens of lab biosecurity incidents where things have escaped and gone on to create pandemics. There are multiple examples. In the 1970s, there was a huge one with the Russian flu pandemic. It was H1N1, and it reappeared. They were able to connect it to the old version of the flu, so it leaked out of somebody's lab that they were testing on. That's why it's so scary when you find these old labs and they have, like, measles or smallpox not being protected properly, because it's a huge issue. And so people want to act like it's not an issue because there's, like, billions of dollars going into this industry because it's really expensive to run and it pays for all these guys' lives. Like, but they... Very, very common. But when you think about animal spillover, like, so we have 123 years of lab biosecurity incidents, right? But we have the entire length of human evolution to look at how many spillovers there have been. And in that time, all of human existence... Right? I mean, human existence. No, humans, actual humans. Not like pre-humans, but actual humans. Like, you're talking like, I don't know, a dozen? Maybe 20? Zoonotic, like, rollovers into the population. Like, it's super, super rare. So, like, people always talk about it, like, common sense dictates that people think that lab has security and nature doesn't have security, so nature has more accidents. And, like, no. That's not right at all. So people have it all mixed up because it's just the data doesn't support this. People are like, oh, they're super rare and the scientists know what they're doing. That's definitely not true. That's definitely not supported. Like, when you think about, like, this whole thing is happening, and the reason, so we know that the U.S. government had a problem, and I'm going to wrap this up here, but we know the U.S. government, knew that they were outsourced a thing. Not only is it in the official report, But it's when they were temporarily refunded, EcoHealth Alliance, they specifically had a limitation on outsourcing the work to the Chinese military. They were specifically not allowed to do it again that way. And then they were like, you know what? This is crazy. Why are we giving this guy money at all? And they cut him off. And then now he shows up at the World Socialist Letter or whatever place saying how this is ridiculous. This is not possible at all. When that's the most capitalist position imaginable. Like the socialist position is like, well, is it risking people's quality of life? Does it have a benefit? And you're like, it's definitely risking quality of life more than it has a benefit. And it pisses me off too because they go, well, we wouldn't have had a COVID vaccine that fast if it wasn't for this guy. And you're like, I just want to like stare at
We
people.
wouldn't have needed one.
Chicken and egg.
Yeah, weird how he was able to develop a vaccine so quickly. I wonder what that's about. The thing with Ron Johnson, by the way, is a little complicated. It has to do with safety signals being found with the mRNA vaccines and them using a new system to look for safety signals with people who had done it reliably for a long period of time. And then as soon as they started giving unfavorable results, like around September 2021, when we were doing booster rollouts, and that's when we were discovering there was some myocarditis that had gone missing in the things. It was mostly in young men. It really wasn't that dangerous, but it was something that we should be aware of. And for us, we as a group, with our work with these regulations, I've already found a solution where you just separate them by 8 weeks in your initial thing, and like the risk goes to like nothing. Even with the mRNA, we did it specifically for Novavax, even though there was never really that much risk. There's just always a risk for young men and myocarditis and protein-based vaccines. And with the mRNA vaccines, it's a little worse. But if you separate them more, so basically the scandal is over, them throwing the people who are catching the signals under the bus, and a lot of it centers around Peter Marks. And the reason I said it was indicative of his character is because this was exactly what we saw personally. Like, we saw them ignore safety signals, and then, like, that was the part they would tell us. Like, they were showing us these safety signals and ignoring them in front of us. Which people always kind of like when I tell people. I don't think people believe me when I say that they did that. They ignored that stroke signal thing 2 years in a row. Like, why did they show it to you if it was just to ignore it? But they did. They did. They showed it to us, and we were like, "Holy shit!" And they were like, "It's not like hugely significant, but it's in black older men who are like the people."
And who cares about them?
That was
Gee.
what really got me. That's what really got me. It's like, well, no wonder they don't trust you guys. Like, look at what you're doing. Like they're telling us, so basically the first year it was if you had a flu and COVID vaccine together, older black men had this stroke risk. And it was ischemic stroke. It was not seen as ultra serious, but it is a stroke. And stroke is a stroke. I don't care how severe you think it is, it's a stroke. They shouldn't have a stroke at all. And then the next year it showed up without the flu vaccine. It just showed up stroke risk in older black men. I think that also has a lot to do with COVID infections in that period, like people being more at higher stroke risk. And we did learn a little bit more about why.
And who is more likely to get infected by COVID? Actually, people of color.
Right, yeah.
Just
People of
given the
color
social dynamic.
carry that burden probably in the greatest volume of any. And I had a great interview with Dr. Mustafa Ali. Way back when I was doing Progressive Insider, I did an interview with him. I should go back to doing interviews. We're still mutuals on Twitter, I think. He's a great guy. He worked for the Trump administration, walked out on him for the EPA. But we had a whole talk about that when we first learned in 2020 that it was starting to affect black men more effectively. And we had a good talk about that, how it was affecting his community and stuff. He's a good guy. I do find the Voting Rights Act and FISA, the spying bill getting all approved at the same time, it really is not sitting very well with me, though.
Yeah. Why do we want to? I mean, I don't think we should have. This should have been warrantless wiretapping. Should have never happened in the first place. But
Yeah.
giving this power to Trump doesn't seem like a very smart.
Well,
idea.
they've had it the whole time, so it's not like it's new power. It was they had continuations of the bill. I didn't go through the language word for word. I just assume there's going to be something in it that makes it worse than it was before. Like, there's no way. And then the way the Democrats flipped to vote for it is just like, are you kidding me, guys? No, they're not kidding.
And you wonder why nobody likes the Democrats anymore.
Yeah, I can think of a couple reasons. They're all in Congress.
But this voting rights thing is catastrophic.
It could be, yeah. It could be. It could be. It's tough because if it so gerrymandering is based on turnout, right? And so like they expect these many votes and they suppress certain votes and then that's how they control votes. But when you change already, like the systems were gerrymandered very, very carefully over many, many years, right? So they had like 5 or 6 times going at it each thing and they're gerrymandered more tightly. Doing what they're doing can be known as dummy mandering, where you have accidentally made a district safe again because it looks like it should be
Yeah,
red.
that's what they're saying. DeSantis might have done here in Florida with his unbelievably gerrymandered maps that he just did.
Yeah, because what these things can do is drive turnout. And so if the right thinks that all the districts are now safe for the right, they might vote less. And the people who think that they've been districted out, their vote is more important now. So, like, you end up forcing more of the people against you to vote and less of the people for you to vote.
So dummy mandering is when gerrymandering backfires on you.
Yeah. It's when you over gerrymandering and you accidentally make a district the other,
Yeah.
safe for the other group. And so
I never heard that term.
Well, what we're doing is really, what they're doing, I should say, is what they're doing is really, really dumb because the balance of how these things work is very delicate. And people, I think that right now, the way that people are showing up, like Republicans are voting Democrat right now. So, like, making these big gerrymandered maps is more likely to make more people vote Democrat. Like, there's just something about society that, like, on one end, the 50% in the Senate, 50-50 on the Senate and the House, whatever, seems like it's, like, rigged up by the corporations. And, it is to a degree, of course, because unlimited government spending. But but it's really more like the people achieve balance, like voters achieve balance when it comes down to it. So there's just this weird thing that happens, and it's hard to explain. It's another reason, kind of like the law of large numbers works, where you can arrange, if you arrange precincts in a straight line, in order of size, they'll achieve a straight line. Like, it's like a weird thing that happens that's how they know when votes are rigged, because they rig them on percentages, and so like the percentage of votes steps away from each other. There's a thing with how people actually work. It's kind of like also the what's another good one when I was talking about. That's why I was getting mad about that guy who's always posting about nasal sprays not working, and he posts that thing showing that, well, you're not safe with this many people in the room. When you have this many people in the room, you're at 99% risk or whatever. And that doesn't really work with humans, because this is why it just makes me so angry, because he's making the risk seem much less than it actually is, even though it seems like the risk is a lot in his breakdowns, because of something called the birthday paradox. And we've talked about the birthday paradox before, where basically if you put a certain amount of people in a room, I think it's 30? How many people? I forget what the number is. Let me look it up real fast.
Right.
There's a counterintuitive probability that in a group of just 23 people, there is over a 50% chance, specifically 50.7% chance, of at least 2 people sharing the same birthday. Despite intuition suggesting a larger group is needed, the high probability results from comparing all possible pairs, which creates 253 unique combinations in 23 people.
So 23 is the number.
Yeah, so 23 is the number. So the same thing is true with like COVID. There's the probability got a little more specific here, but you when you get to a certain threshold of like 20 or 30 people, you're gonna have someone infected there. Like it doesn't exponentially go up to like 1,000 people. You're at 99%. It's much lower when the risk becomes 100%. So like if you say like, oh, you're safe up to this many people, it's like a fraction of that number. Like a big family gathering is enough. And you should have like clean, and you should be going as a COVID conscious person. You should be going to these family gatherings. You should be protecting yourself. You should be preparing for it and doing all the things you do to like make yourself as healthy as you can. You can bring air filters to the thing and wear your mask and do whatever you're gonna do. But like you should still see your family and be around people, and they should see you using precautions. And you should try to make those precautions as uninvasive as possible. You know, I feel like the less invasive your protections are, the more likely you get people to adopt them. And that's sort of like why I'm almost like nasal sprays are such an important. You got another study on more nasal. What? Okay, I'm sorry. Biff, are you there? Did we? So this is a new study, right? Did I? Sorry.
No, it's definitely not.
sorry. Made myself cough from laughing. I'm sorry. We were joking. We were joking to your pre-call because I said, "Oh, we got this new study," and Biff's like, "It's not a new study."
Yeah.
It sounded like me on the internet.
It's a study on Zelestine nasal sprays. We got it last September, I think it was released, but it's been going around the community lately because there's a new article that got written on it, essentially.
Right. New to me, right? No, not actually new to me. It's just that's the vibe of all these things. They republish things every 6 months. But, I mean, it is getting out there more, and it is, like, I feel like more conversations. So with nasal sprays, I want to say, like, I don't think you should use the nasal spray as your only means of protection. I don't think that's a good idea. And I don't think vaccine and nasal sprays are enough alone either. I think a mask and a vaccine is more important than the nasal spray, really. But if you're in, like, a high-risk scenario in any type of working class, any type of reusing mask, any type of 8-hour job you're trying to mask through, any type of long-term usage, because like masks are 100% effective, but those studies are done in medical settings with medical professionals in controlled environments. They're not keeping track of you at your job at Jamba Juice. You know what I mean? Like they're not, you know, the person who's like working around and moving and sweating real hard and doesn't have the extra precautionary measures. They become less effective. Even the more you sweat in them, the less effective they become. So like having nasal sprays, especially if you're like a high risk position, will cut your infections down dramatically. And that's what that study really showed, is that the people who used the spray were less likely to see infection. And I don't believe masking was a part of their equation there, right? Like it was just a straight nasal spray study. So so the people who are like saying, oh, they don't work, or the studies aren't good, or whatever, like it's just more mass infection. They're absolutely wrong. They're wrong.
There were studies with saline early on that kind of said the same thing.
Yeah, which matches the mechanism of infection. You have these little things in your nose hairs that get infected, and like the way COVID really infects you is through your what the hell is it called? Why am I forgetting the name?
Your nasal. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the little fleshy thing between your brain and your nose. It's like this little tiny piece of skin.
Like, something.
I forget what it's called. It'll come back to me.
Yeah.
Look at you, medical professionals. No, it's it's just forget it. It's been a long show. We're almost done. But yeah, you're just trying, and that's actually why the nasal sprays. A lot of people, when you think nasal sprays, you think that you're like supposed to take it like a sinus nasal spray. That's not right. You want to spray it on your mucosa, the little fleshy area back behind your nose, where that's where the infection gets into your brain. That's where the infection really starts. Like if it infects other parts of it, your immune system handles it fine. It probably won't lead to an acute infection. But when it gets in your mucosa, you have like no immune system. You're totally screwed. That's why people lose their sense of smell and taste, because the nerves go through the mucosa. So like when that gets all damaged, and it's cool because the way it's not cool for COVID, but it's cool in general how the nerves work. They're not really like a nerve strand in the same way like we visualize it. It's like it goes through a lot of cells, and then those cells get disrupted by syncytial formation. So that's when we talk about nasal sprays, we talk about sort of stuff. You're supposed to actually like Nvid. You're supposed to try to land. It's in the instructions, but they're until recently, when they had the American ones, they were always written in Hebrew because it came from Israel. Now we have an American version that's not made in Israel, and it's not funded by Israel. So
no wonder.
No wonder, yeah. No wonder. Which is a funny name for something not funded. To decide to not have it funded by Israel. Well, it's no wonder, really.
The one from that study, though, that's That's an allergy one, isn't it? An allergy nasal
Yeah, you
spray?
can get it in America, OTC apparently, and apparently there's something where the OTC one is higher dose than the medicated one. I don't know. Clearly, the system is functioning properly, but it seems like there's some confusing stuff going there. So let's see. What else?
Hey, all you Californians, did you know that multiple health officials are scrambling after TB exposures were confirmed at multiple schools in Fresno?
Great. There's also whooping cough in
Yeah.
Pasadena right now, really bad. Apparently, there's a huge outbreak
Oh,
of
good.
whooping cough. Yeah.
Latent
Yeah.
tuberculosis, right?
Well, I don't know, but yeah, it could be. I mean, COVID reactivates latent viruses, and a lot more people have latent TB than they realize.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And there's, yeah,
Could be.
could be. San Isidro, San Diego County, lovely.
Yeah, it's not good. It's just not good. It's not we're dealing with the homeschool thing right now for kindergarten. We're setting it up for next year, and it's going to be a whole thing because oh boy, because even when you think about like COVID, it's like there's so many more things with COVID, and there is like a lot of the stuff we vaccinate for. We don't vaccinate for TB anymore, though, right? I believe that's not in America.
Yeah. Not in this country, huh?
Yeah. It's supposed to not need to be vaccinated against, which usually it
Huh.
doesn't unless you have like a whole bunch of people with damaged immune systems grouping together.
Yeah, or it's been rife in like homeless shelters and places like that.
Right, where people are in some sort of deficiency. Not enough food, not enough sleep, not enough heat, not enough water, not enough whatever. These are diseases that technically, the reason that we have like SNAP programs and like basic medical care for poor people and all these systems set up is specifically because TB isn't a problem, generally speaking, if people are healthy. So like,
Yep. Well, the social determinants of health. Back when we had public health, they were a big deal.
yeah, that's why when the Republicans are going after SNAP, you're like, guys, you know this is for like good health, and that's why they're like, okay, then we'll just get rid of soda. How about that? And you're like, which there was a bill in the food bill. There were a couple things in the food bill. One of them was about not protecting glyphosate. That got the thing to protect glyphosate got removed, and then they were going to try to ban sugary drinks, and that got removed. And then there was one thing that got passed that was good.
Rotisserie chicken.
Oh, the rotisserie chicken. Thank you, Lee.
Rotisserie chicken.
Now,
That's
I don't
good.
think, is it just rotisserie chickens, or is it hot? It's not hot food in general at the grocery store. It's just rotisserie chickens, or like qualified.
At least it's a start. I mean, most of these low-income people are also low-time.
No, the rotisserie
people.
chicken thing
And
is
this ban on
ridiculous.
them buying any hot prepared food is ridiculous.
Yeah, it will make food stamps go so much further for so many people and save them time
Uh-huh.
because they can just have a whole chicken to work on. It's a lot better, and it's high in protein. There's still a lot of, they're not like the best healthiest chickens in the sense of like there's stuff going on with them, but like those people, it doesn't matter. It's better than it's. I mean, I eat them; they're fine. It's just you wouldn't want to eat them like all the time because of how they're made. For health reasons, but then again, it's still better than eating like ground beef all the time. So there's that too. Well, they gotta be making their money somewhere, Jess. They're cutting corners somewhere,
Crap,
Yeah.
macaroni and cheese.
Factory farmed in the first place.
Yeah, well, we got some really weird chicken breasts recently that my wife looked up the meat and was like, "This is what they say." It looked like it was like pre-shredded. That's from when they grow the chickens too fast, and you're just like,
They don't
ugh.
get enough blood supply, so the muscles don't grow properly.
Yeah, not enough blood
Yeah.
supply and the muscles grow properly. It's gross. Ew.
Commodifying animals.
Yeah, I mean it's tough
Weird.
because like it is like an industry and a business, but at the same time, like the levels of I don't know. It's again you're back
Cruelty?
to. I live in California. We live in California, Josie. So I feel like we have a little less. Like we have pretty decent, better, I should say, animal rights laws than other states. Because in other states, it's like, what are animal rights?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I remember when the bird flu stuff started happening, there was one of the laws that was put forth in California was more strict than other states about like feeding bird feces to cows in their food.
Yeah, it sounds
and
familiar.
California is not allowed to do that, but it was one of the theories floating around for like why the spread was more prevalent in some places than others.
Right. Well, it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense. It was passing in feces and passing to cows, so that makes sense. And then you get to
But
eat
pretty
it.
weird that we allow that in the
I really, I want to just loop back around to raw milk for 1 second, even though we didn't talk about it. We're in the middle of a cow-bird pandemic, and these guys are like, I want to drink raw milk. And you're just like,
yeah.
what?
We need the pure stuff,
Oh.
straight from the udder.
It only hurts their babies, too. That's the worst part. Whenever you hear about someone getting sick, it's always their kid that's hospitalized, because when your kid starts throwing up blood, you're like, what do? Take them to the hospital.
And isn't it just heat? Isn't pasteurization
Yeah, it's just cooking it.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
so like? Yeah, what's the?
I
big-
heard someone say, okay, you're against raw milk. What if we just took it and like boiled it?
Well, yeah, that goes back to like, well, you could just get the pasteurized stuff.
Yeah.
And that's also adding like 60 degrees as well, because pasteurization, just brings it up barely to the temperature that it needs to be.
Yeah, they're not even boiling it.
Right, because I guess that steps on the taste to like
Yeah.
too far.
Yeah, but it's just enough to kill whatever bacteria is in there, and doesn't take that much heat. I'm sure there's a little bit more to the process. Let's not undermine the hard workers at pasteurization laboratories. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Where they have to add in all the 5G.
Good job, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know. Okay, so I got a couple more notes. Let's wrap this up. If you care about hemp, apparently there's a soft hemp ban in the agriculture bill, and it's moving to the Senate. So
Yeah.
just on a side note, if you care about hemp in any capacity, which I don't know if this is our audience or not, if you care about hemp, it seems like they might light up every once in a while, but it's not that type of hemp.
It's not, yeah, this is especially for places where recreational use is not legal, but you're able to get it through these kind of CBD stores that's synthesized through hemp, as opposed to, I can't even explain it because I don't understand it well enough. But they're able to synthesize enough delta-9 THC, which is the kind that gets you high, to get you high. Or maybe not even that. Even CBD oil, full spectrum CBD oil, has a certain percentage of THC in it. It's a very low percentage, but this new farm bill would make the percentage so low it basically be impossible to have any CBD oil.
Which, I mean...
And I know...
It doesn't make any sense considering I don't know if you guys know, but we also are going to be doing some activism regarding reclassification of marijuana, because marijuana is officially being reclassified, and they're going to be doing public comment on that. I believe the public comment is open. It's just a weird combo, right? They're like reclassifying marijuana and like reclassifying hemp to be more illegal.
Well, no, because there's two different markets that are very opposed to each other. Big marijuana, the True Leaves, the big marijuana companies hate the little hemp companies. They're always trying to kill them because they don't want the competition. There's a lot of small businesses, a lot of small farmers. There's a lot of businesses will get killed by this hemp ban.
Right.
A lot.
So it has to get pulled in the Senate, right in front of McConnell.
Yeah. It's Rich McConnell. He put it in there. He's the one that put it in there. The alcohol industry, the bourbon industry, good old Kentucky gave him a lot of money to put that in there.
And they're getting
Because
hit
people
again
aren't using
because of
alcohol
COVID.
anymore, and they don't want to get these THC-infused beverages instead of good old Kentucky bourbon.
Hmm.
I don't know. I think the march of technology has just caught up with them. March of technology.
Well, if you want to tie it back to COVID can cause alcohol intolerance. That's one of many reasons why people are drinking less.
Yeah, but I think also people like less money, less bullshit, this
Less
group.
money? Yep.
Also, this next generation of kids is not like drinking and smoking the way the
Stupid.
last one did. Well, let's not go there. As a millennial.
Alcohol is straight up poison. As a former GI nurse, I will tell you that.
Oh,
it's
Jesus.
poison.
Don't say that in front of my
Work on a
alcohol.
GI floor, you will never want to drink again.
Yeah, especially not these like really brown whiskeys. The The more, if you guys don't know, the more brown it is, the more crap that there is in there to try to mess you up. So your body has to process all that stuff out. So my take is get clear liquids. Sorry, kidding, kids, don't drink.
Pro tip.
Yeah, pro tip. I actually learned that from a friend when I was in my 21, 22, and it is actually really good advice in general. Because the browner the liquid, the harder it is on your body to process. So if you have
And those
not
were the-
brown liquids,
And it was the brown liquor people, probably the ones that were paying.
yeah, McConnell. Yeah, because he's talking about the whiskey people. They're all the brown liquor made
It's
in-
Kentucky. What do you
Yeah.
Kentucky bourbon? That's huge.
Yeah.
No, sorry, bourbon, not whiskey. No. Or is it a type?
that
Is
Jack
bourbon
Daniels?
type of whiskey? God, look at us. We're doing arithmetic on the show again.
I think it is. I don't drink any of that crap. I never did.
Well, clearly, 'cause you worked on a GI floor.
That's right.
Yeah, bourbon is a type of whiskey. I don't really drink that much of bourbon, at least. I'm from California. We drink tequila. That's how that works. Which is saponin based. So heads up on that. So this Novavax video came out with the creator, and they interviewed probably the last people I want to hear about about Novavax, and that was Shaw Capital. And if you don't know what Shaw Capital is the group who bought 9%. I always say it's 7%, but 9% of Novavax stock, and then whines that they're not selling the company because I think they expected the company to just be sold for whatever and they would get the profit. And so they did this interview, and then I don't think the interview was that interesting, or whatever. Nothing really relevant came out of it. What was interesting was the amount of bots that popped up the second the interview was over, trying to make it seem like Novavax was screwing over investors. And these are the same photos that they use that show up in my bot accounts, porno bot accounts. So I just found it very interesting how they're making this weird artificial push to make Novavax look like it screwed everyone over when it's all new leadership with a new direction. It's just, I mean, did anyone else take anything useful from that?
Wait, what you were saying that these bots are trying to make it seem like
Yeah. They're posting all about how investors got screwed over, and they're trying to make it seem like it was just very much into the Shaw Capital, what they're pushing for. They're pushing for all these bad things, and this seems like it's all artificial to create that.
I didn't see that, but I just always find it weird. The money side of things, it just always bothers me. That's not really why I was interested in Novavax. It had nothing to do with money. It was because it was the better.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If you want to have the better thing, you have to be involved with the money. I mean, here's the thing. I've always been accused of being a Novavax stockholder or whatever, which I just think is hilarious because I am not a stockholder.
Yeah.
So, in general. So, the idea of being a Novavax stockholder. I did hold $100 or $200 at one point just to watch the stock. I was maybe I'll get to save. This will be so much fun. But now I spent that.
You're not like Pete Hegseth, where you don't know where. it's
Yeah.
going.
I have a blind brokerage account. Actually, I have a blind account that I don't know what's happening with because it doesn't exist.
I've never
bl-
had a stock.
It's blind and deaf and mute. It's not there. It's the Helen Keller of stock portfolios. Am I allowed to say that? Probably not. She does exist, by the way. I said that and I realized there are people right now saying Helen Keller never existed, which I just feel like is.
What?
Yeah, there are people saying that Helen Keller never existed and she's not real, birds aren't real or something.
Oh God.
The birds aren't real thing is a joke. Everyone, that is actually that guy who started that it was a joke. But
Do they think that Helen Keller was AI?
and Helen Keller isn't even the first Helen Keller. Helen Keller is just the one who got the most famous, probably because her name rhymes, but which doesn't really rhyme, but it sounds similar. But there was a woman who was just as disabled as Helen Keller that was doing all this stuff a couple years before her. It's kind of like the first black woman on the bus thing wasn't really the first black woman on the bus. It was another woman,
Um,
but she was pregnant. They didn't want to use her as a, as an example.
Rosa Parks.
Yeah, Rosa Parks wasn't the first one. There was another woman before her that was like the
You're right,
first
I can't
one.
remember her
I can't
name.
remember her name either.
Yeah.
But that
I know that Rosa Parks was like a longtime activist before that happened.
Oh, absolutely. This was not like something she just decided on the spur of the moment.
Right.
There's a great deal of planning that went into that.
It wasn't just like, oh, today my back hurts, so I'm going to sit
Yeah, it's
here.
not. It was not a spontaneous event.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be a spontaneous event. I think it's good to look at these things from history and like look at them through the lens of like these events are manufactured. And that's how you like move things forward. You have to manufacture these events.
They're symbols, and they don't really always tell the whole story.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exactly right. So it's the civil rights movement was a lot of really well planned out actions from things that they got ideas different places, and because I'm pretty sure the pregnant woman is a spontaneous event, but they didn't want to use her because it was they didn't want a single mother to be a face of the social rights movement because it would hurt, like it would bring back the unwed mothers thing, which is what they were pushing on them a lot. And so it was like they needed somebody who was like fit a little more into the white sort of view of what they cared about. I mean, the world is an awful place, so it's no surprise they had to take. It's like you got to meet people where they are. It's like you want to get this stuff done. You can't just do it from some hypothetical world. You have to do it from the real world.
I didn't realize there was like a PR kind of situation there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole thing I feel like people should know about, because it's like you should know the history of how these events happen. Her name is Claudette Colvin. She was a 15-year-old.
So that's why. 15-year-old and pregnant, right?
Let's see, I'm making sure I'm actually looking at the Wikipedia now.
So that would make sense if they didn't want people to like demonize her, the symbol, for any other outside reason. It sort of makes sense.
Yeah, arrested at the age of 15 for refusing to give up her seat to a white woman on a segregated bus 9 months before the similar Rosa Parks incident. So they basically like recreated the Rosa Parks incident.
I'm
recreated her incident with Rosa Parks.
I'm sure it happened a bunch of times before it was actually like something that was reported on.
I would assume that at the time it was more of an institution of fear.
Yeah.
So like people were too afraid to like push back on the rules because they would literally murder them.
Because they'd lynch you.
Yeah, they'd literally murder them. So
Right.
So I could see why, and we really went down a rabbit hole here. I could see why they wouldn't have a lot of examples of it until they started, and then once they were like, well, they just arrested her, they didn't kill her, so they're like, well, maybe we could replicate this and make it a thing, and that kind of led to the whole conversation. So
Yeah, if you live to tell the story.
it's very smart. I mean, I think it's smart. I think some people will look at that and say, like, the right will look at that and go, oh, see, it's all fake, and they just faked it, and you're like,
That's not about being fake. It's about pointing out an injustice.
Yeah, I think it's very smart activism. There's a lot to learn from it. I feel like learning from this is really important, because when we move forward with like setting up activism with ICE or whatever, you can't, like, you have to set up environments that are gonna change the public's view of them. Though I gotta say, the throwing dildos at them in California is still working out great in my opinion.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm still a big fan of that. So, actually, a fun fact, and I'm not a fan of this pizza place, but the Little Caesars. There's Little Caesars paid for Rosa Parks' living for the rest of her life. I believe it's the owner of Little Caesars, like, quietly paid for Rosa Parks' like housing the entire time. It's a little funny story. I'm looking it up to make sure I got it. Yeah, paid Rosa. Yeah. Mike Itch, founder of Little Caesars Pizza, quietly paid Rosa Parks rent for over a decade, from '94 until her death in 2005. So after the 81-year-old civil rights icon was robbed and assaulted in her Detroit home in 1994, he arranged to cover the cost for a safer apartment, and then no one knew until she passed away. No one knew until he passed away in 2017. So he was continue paying for her even after his death.
That's cool.
Yeah. Pizza's not very good though. $5. It's still $5. I don't know. When it was $5 for a $5 pizza, you're like, I guess I'll eat cardboard.
Were they the ones with crazy bread?
Yes.
them?
Yeah. Which we now call bonkers bread.
Yeah, exactly.
So
It's been updated.
yeah, I don't think they are doing that still. But yeah, I know that was that one. I want to close on Israel's still in her. God damn it! Still taking hostages of activists in international water.
Yeah.
Like, they're still seizing people. Now, the intent is to go to Palestine, but Palestine is not Israel. Palestine is its own place. So, like, what right do they have to take people in international waters? Like, if they were like, we're going to travel to Israel and take over Israel by storm, then I'd be like, okay, I don't think you should still be taking people in international waters. But the second they hit Israeli waters, and I feel like Palestinian waters is not Israeli waters. They have no right in any way to do anything in here. And I feel like the international community should be more outraged. I don't think these flotillas are very effective at, like, getting aid in because no one's ever reached them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that them
They're
constantly
largely theater, I think.
well, yes and no. Yes, for a lot of people it is just a new way to get popular, and don't say it's not, because it totally is. But also no, because they're really putting themselves in harm's way with a genocidal government that has been killing people. Like, the new argument from the ex-Biden official was, yes, Israel's committing a genocide, but we have to support them anyways. Like, what the hell is that?
Yeah. What was her? I forget her name, but yeah, I saw that story.
I was just like, oh, God. And then she went on to say later on, well, maybe it wasn't an actual genocide. She, like, backtracked on it.
Yeah, we just shipped them another 6,500 tons of munitions.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Even though Trump prohibited them from bombing Lebanon.
Yeah, and so they haven't been bombing Lebanon, right? Oh.
No.
Sure.
Netanyahu's been posting videos bragging about it.
Demolished. They're not even bombing them, they're just demolishing Lebanon in the same way they demolished Gaza. We told people if you don't stop them in Gaza, they're just going to keep going until they keep demolishing shit, and you're just keep empowering them to steal people's heritage and lives and history. Like, these people are closer to vampires than anything. And this is, by the way, just if you're listening, Jesse and Terry, they're fucking Jewish. So, like, we're not in here, like, these are Jewish opinions. Not me, I'm not Jewish. I'm not a religious guy. But, like, I did go to Catholic high school, so at least I know all about the religions, for whatever that's worth. My take on it is, they all think the same thing, except Zionism. That's my take. They all basically think the same stuff.
I don't know how they got Never Again out of what they're doing. Like, doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think they're like, we need to stop the people who want to kill us because we keep killing them.
Yeah.
And that's going to work.
You're like, okay.
It's gonna make people hate them more.
Everything that they have done now has made Jews less safe in the world.
Yeah. And isn't the whole point of Israel as a safe haven for Jews? Like, isn't that the whole?
Yeah, but it's just advertising.
That was the. We can only be safe if we kill everybody else that wants around us.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
Oh, they're actively making Jews less safe.
Absolutely.
I'm going to pivot for 1 second because I want to say one thing really fast about Claudette Colvin real fast. I'm looking at her Wikipedia, and Israel needs to stop doing it, but we can go on about that for the rest of the evening. It says, and we talk about vaccines, it says 2 days before Colvin 13's birthday, her sister Delphine died of polio in 1952. And then also, a little closing happy though, she was a member of the NAACP Youth Council where she formed a close relationship with her mentor, Rosa Parks. So Rosa Parks was her mentor, so that's why it's like we should have Rosa go do the thing that I did, but it doesn't look as good. I don't think she was pregnant though. I don't know where that came from. I don't see that in here.
Oh, she wasn't. After
Oh
all?
no, she was. She was unmarried and pregnant. Yes, sorry, it's right here.
Yeah.
It's just one small line on it. Fortunate. Yeah.
Yeah, that might have backfired as the activism move.
I mean, it worked out. I think. I mean, for the most part, it's just now we're. I mean, it took them.
All the organizers down there were incredibly strategic.
Yeah,
They
incredible.
really were.
Well, and that's why they got the rights, and that's why they won, and that's what I feel like the right is still trying to take away from them. You know, with taking back the Voting Rights
Which
Act
they
and all this stuff. They're still trying to undo what they see as this injustice of giving black people rights, and I definitely think they should be told to fuck off. The Republicans don't make any rights for everyone. Just to be totally clear. Sometimes people don't say Don hates black people. See? No, absolutely not. We need to get this right. And I'm hoping that the next people who are in charge in the Democratic Party are willing to fight for justice for all the things we've seen go wrong.
Supremacy is at the heart of a lot of our problems.
Yeah, and how can they be supremacists when I am obviously better than everyone else? I'm just saying, how does that work? No, it's ridiculous. People are so silly. No, we need an even playing field. I feel like that's we need an even playing field, and if white people are complaining that black people getting rights isn't an even playing field, and you don't want an even playing field. You want to feel superior, and that's be superior, be the better product. But they know they can't, so they just can't. So, anyways, that's why they have to keep trying to cheat these elections. So more than ever, and also the last thing I want to end with on this show is I feel like more than ever people are saying things like voting won't get us out of this. That is technically not true yet. If everything goes completely south with this election in the midterms, then we can argue that voting is not going to fix this. But to just assume that, gerrymandering based on really low turnout is going to stop the Americans from speaking up and fighting back in the least invasive way possible, I think is a real mistake to make. The people are like, you need violent revolution. I'm like, that's just more not voting. That's just now all those people are, felons and can't vote in a bunch of. It just doesn't make any sense. So we really need to keep pushing.
They got way better weapons than we do.
Yeah, they have microwaves that make your skin feel like it's burning off. You're better off. We need to really give this our all to get as many people out as we can. We don't need any of this third-party crap. Not this year. It's not the year for it. We're not in some position of security for that. So, and if you want better Democrats, then fight in the primaries. They're happening right now until Alabama and Louisiana turn them off. So that's a problem. So that's it, guys. It's a depressing day. I'm not giving anyone last word. We're done. It's over. It's been bad. It's been a long week. Can't believe we're doing the write-up for this show. And I was like, how is it only Monday? Or, excuse me, how is it only Thursday? We just did a show on Monday. It's been 3 days. How is this possible? So much bad stuff has happened. But here we are waiting through it. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Terry, for staying for the length of the show. Thank you, Jesse, and everyone being here. Thank you, Heather, for your insightful break-in. That's it, folks. If you like what we're doing, please give us a like or a share. If you want to make a donation, which we do appreciate, you can do so. There's a link tree on my personal bio. So that's it, everyone. Have a great weekend. See you on Monday. Or I guess have a survive the weekend. That's how we should. I should close the videos with just survive.